Hello, dear students, and good morning to everyone. Today I am here with the civics part of the class 8th social science with chapter number 7 of civics, that is marginalization, social and economic. And here I am going to provide you the part 2nd of this video. Okay, so in the previous part I have explained you about what is marginalization. We have learned about what are the reasons or the causes for the marginalization. We have learned about the marginalized group of the society and about minorities. Okay, in this part we will learn about that what are the provisions that are introduced by our constitution or by the Constitution of India for the purpose of upgrading or developing these marginalized section in society. Okay, so let us learn from here. The first of all, constitutional provisions for safeguarding marginalized section. That means what are the provisions, what are the steps taken by the Constitution of India or by the maker of the constitution for safeguarding the marginalized in India. As all of you are knowing that equality is one of the basic principle of Indian democracy. That is why it is very important to safeguard the rights of the marginalized also, so that they can also be concluded or they can also put their efforts for the development of Indian economy as well as India. So let us see what is the first provision. So what, according to the constitutional provisions, it provides measures that would ensure equality and abolish discriminatory practices. Our constitution provides threefold strategy for the purpose of the development of this marginalized section, and for that only they ensure that the equality should be maintained in society as well as to abolish the discriminatory practices from India on the basis of caste system. By act of positive discrimination, the Constitution of India adopted the provision of positive discrimination. Positive discrimination means the discrimination that is based on positive attitude, that means to give preferential treatment to the section of the society which is underdeveloped in comparison to the section of the society that is underdeveloped. Okay, that is developed. So basically preferential treatments are in constitution it is written that preferential treatment should be given to the society, to the section of the society that is underdeveloped. Okay, now later on, by providing resources and benefits for their overall development, to provide them education, okay, to provide them all the resources that is necessary for the comfort of their life, that all provisions are given in the constitution that works for the upliftment of the marginalized sections in India. Let us see the next one. Now, how fundamental rights help the marginalized? The constitution provides certain basic rights to every citizen of India. Now here the question arises that how the fundamental rights help the marginalized. Constitution, as all of you are knowing that our constitution provides that certain basic rights, and those rights are equal for each and every citizen of India. Like that only, if that particular right is for the developed section of the society, it is also for the underdeveloped section of the society. So with the introduction of fundamental rights in Indian constitution, all the citizens of India started being counted as equal. The constitution grants fundamental rights to all Indians equally. There is no discrimination on the basis of caste and creed. The fundamental rights provide security and well-being of the marginalized. That means those people are also having equal right over this country, and they are also treated, or the government will work for their security as well as for their well-being. By insisting on their fundamental rights, by awareing about their fundamental rights, the marginalized section can be stand against, or they can force the government to recognize the injustices that were done to them in the previous years. Okay, so with the introduction of the fundamental rights, as we have learned about various fundamental rights, now by awareing these marginalized section regarding fundamental rights, they will be able to fight for themselves. Now some of the fundamental rights that directly benefit the marginalized communities are right to equality. As all of us are knowing that everyone is treated equal in India, and the Article 14, first of all we will talk about the Article 14 of the Indian Constitution that provides equality before law. So whether it is a person belongs to marginalized section or it is belongs to mainstream society, everyone is equal before law, and that is why it protected all the discriminatory policies done against the marginalized sections. Next is social equality and equal access to public areas, that is Article 15. Article 15 also provides the marginalized section that they can move to any area, okay, in the Indian continent or in the Indian territory on the basis of caste, color, means there should be no discrimination on the basis of this. People are free to access to any public area, whether they are marginalized or not. Right to equality. Let us check the next one. It also provides equality in matters of public employment. Article 16 provides this thing, that each and every individual of India is having the right to get employment in any of the offices or can start any profession without any discrimination. It also provides the provision of abolition of untouchability, that is Article 17 provides abolition of untouchability. That means untouchability cannot be practiced in India in any form. It is a punishable offence now. Next we are going to learn about right against exploitation. As we have learned about that our constitution also provides us right against exploitation. That means if someone is exploiting us or using us, okay, so in that case we have the right against exploitation. Article 23 and 24 in the Indian Constitution provides two provisions. The first one is provision of forced labor. As we have learned that Britishers employed the Indian tribal communities as bonded laborers. So bonded laborers was laboring, or bonded labor was banned by Article 23 of the Indian Constitution. Beggar practiced in the past by landlord has been declared a crime and is punishable by law. Now no person can hire a person as a bonded labor. Okay. Human trafficking is also not allowed now. Means human selling or purchasing is also not allowed, as well as the children below, abolition of employment of children. That means child labor is also abolished in India now. The children below the age of 14 years are not allowed to work in any dangerous factories or mines. Okay. Now next article is cultural and educational rights. As we have learned about that the tribal communities are having their own culture, own identity and own way of living. Okay. So according to the Article 29 and 30, it is written in the Constitution that any community which has a language and a script of its own has the right to conserve and develop it. That means the tribal communities are having the right, or the marginalized sections are having the right to preserve their own culture, to preserve their own language or script, as well as all minorities, religious or linguistic, can set up their own educational institutions. That means they are also having the right to set up their own educational institutions to preserve and develop their own culture, language or script. Okay. Right to constitutional remedies. All of you are knowing that right to constitutional remedies provides right against all the rights. That means it protects all the other fundamental rights of the Indian Constitution. Okay. If someone's fundamental right is being violated by any individual, by state or by anybody, the person can seek to the Supreme Court or can go to the Supreme Court, okay, for the violation of their law. So this is all about the right to about the fundamental rights, and we have learned that how fundamental rights played an important role in the upliftment of the people of the marginalized section of the Indian society. Now let us learn about Right to Education Act. As we are knowing that untouchables or the people or these marginalized section have no access to education, that is why government also played this introduced Right to Education Act that played an important role for educating the marginalized section of India. And according to this act was introduced on 4th August 2009 and came into effect on 1st April 2010. Okay, Article 21A of the Indian Constitution said that the children between the age group of 6 to 14 are having the right of free and compulsory education. Okay, so that develops the marginalized section. They provide access to education, and once they get educated, they started awareing about their rights also. Now let us move further and learn about what are the efforts that were made for the upliftment of the marginalized. That means some of the efforts we are going to learn. So first of all is specific laws. That means the Indian government formed or made specific laws for the people, those who are marginalized, those who are secluded from the society, those who are underdeveloped. And in this specific law, the very first is reservation. All of you are familiar with this word reservation. So reservation law was introduced in India that provides reservation. That means the reserving of some of the seats in every section, whether it is educational institution, whether it is job opportunity, whether it is politics. Okay, number of seats are reserved for scheduled caste, scheduled tribes, as well as for OBC candidates, so that they can also participate in those participate in election, as well as so that they can also get access to for higher education. So as you can see, the reservation law ensured that a percentage of vacancies in educational institution, government and semi-government jobs are reserved. That means are particularly reserved for scheduled caste and scheduled tribes only. The next one is to encourage their political participation so that they can also participate in the elections and participate in the decision making process of a country. Seats are also reserved in the state assemblies as well as in the Lok Sabhas also, so that this person belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes can also participate in the administration of the country. The Ministry of Tribal Affairs was set up, especially the Ministry of Tribal Affairs that look after the tribals in India was set up in 1999 to look into the socio-economic development of the scheduled caste, that they are developing or not. The Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes Act was passed in 1989, and this act basically was against all the injustices that were done to them in the forest. Okay, the people, the Adivasis, the tribal communities, those who were living in the forest areas, basically these rights were started for them so that they can also get easy access, or they can fought for the injustices that were done to them during the rule of the Britishers. Okay, the next one is, according to this act, the land belonging to the tribal people cannot be sold or bought by non-tribal people. This act provides the right to the people, those who are living in the forest or the tribal people, okay, that no one can purchase the land from them forcefully, and even no one can sell lands from them. Okay. Now next is the Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribes Prevention of Atrocities Act 1989. Now what is the meaning of atrocities? That is atyachar. This act provides a right to the Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes that yes, they can fight against the atrocities or the atyachar, and the atrocities are found to be a punishable offence according to this act. This act came into force in 1989. The government of India passed this act in 1989 to give them a life of dignity, so that these people or the marginalized section can also live with respect and dignity. The main provisions of this act are: punish those who commit crime against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. That means the people, those who commit any crime against them, okay, they humiliate them or they follow any unfair practice against scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, they can be punished. Punish those who assaults or uses force on any women belonging to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. That means a person who has found assaulting any women, okay, or and using unfair means on any women, that person should also be punished according to this act. Punish to those who wrongfully occupies their cultivable lands or any land that belongs to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. That means the people, those who occupies their land forcefully or wrongfully, they are also punished according to this act. Provides for special courts for hearing of the above offences. Special courts are provided for the hearings, for listening the case or for listening the problems of the scheduled caste and scheduled tribe members. Okay. So this is all about the Scheduled Caste and the Scheduled Tribes Act of 1989 that provides or that decided some of the punishments for the people, those who do atrocities और जो अत्याचार करते थे इनके ऊपर, उनके खिलाफ कानून बनाए गए. ठीक है. Now bonded labor system abolition act, that means bonded labor, forced labor was abolished, and this became an act in 1976. And according to this act, now no one can hire or no one can use any person as bonded labor. Okay, bonded labor has become a punishable offence in India. Next is Child Labor Prohibition and Regulation Act 1986. Okay, Child Labor Prohibition Act was also introduced in India in the year 1986, and this act prohibits the engagement of children in certain employments that are hazardous for them, okay, and to regulate the conditions of work of children in certain other employment. That means now children between the age group of 6 to 14 are not allowed to work, okay, in any type of restaurant, hotels, or any type of firecracker industries or any harmful industry or in any mines. So this act prohibits child labor, okay. The next we are going to learn about National Commissions for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes. Now if I will talk you about the National Commissions for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, so these commissions were set up according to the Article 338 and 338 of A of the Indian Constitution. Okay, so basically this provides two statutory bodies, that means two bodies that are related to two state level bodies for the functioning of or for the upliftment of the people, those who belong to scheduled caste and scheduled tribes. So first, according to the Article 338, under Article 338 of the Constitution, the National Commission for the Scheduled Caste, okay, was established with the objective of monitoring all the safeguards provided for the scheduled caste under the Constitution or other laws. So basically, according to Article 338, okay, National Commission for Scheduled Caste was established, and according to Article 338A, National Commission for Scheduled Tribe was founded in India. Okay, now as I want to explain you, this department or this commission is under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. These two commissions, the Commission, National Commission for Scheduled Caste and Scheduled Tribes, are under the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Okay, and its headquarters is in New Delhi, and the minister who is responsible presently for these commissions is Thawar Chand Gehlot. Okay, so I think this chapter is completed here. Okay, if you have any problem, you can ask me through Zoom classes, and this is all for today, students. Thank you.